How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the corner. I am the Demon as always, and today I want to do a deeper dive into this first clip. All right, now I saw a lot of comments on my previous video already that were like, "Oh my God, it's just hand cam delay." Okay, okay, we'll break this down, okay, and we'll start with standard delay. Okay, standard millisecond delay of cams. Okay, for like hand cams and whatnot. So, a standard USB webcam, which is what I have, okay, has between a 100 to 300 plus millisecond delay. Okay, a high-end USB cam has between an 80 and 150 second or 150 millisecond delay. An HDMI capture card or DSLR slash action cam has between a 30 and 70 millisecond delay or lower. And then a professional vision cam, which is like the highest end cam you can get basically, which are extremely expensive, have between a 20 and 50 second or millisecond delay. Okay, now obviously I don't expect this person to have the most high end whatever, right? I also do not expect him to have an HDMI capture card, okay, or a DSLR action cam. Okay. I don't because spoiler, I just did like a 30-minute recording of what I'm about to do now, and turns out my mic was muted the entire time. So I've already looked at all of this in this excruciating detail, but I'm going to do it again because I want to actually get this video out. So I would expect him to have between a standard and high-end USB. However, that also doesn't add up. Now, some people, as I said, have been saying that it's just a delay in the hand cam. If that is true, okay, we should expect to see the exact same amount of delay with no wiggle room. Okay, if it is a delay, it is going to be the exact same every single time. Now, for people trying to prove that they are not cheaters, you typically want a hand cam that has a delay of under 70 milliseconds. Okay. So realistically, if he wants to prove he's not cheating, he would want to use an HDMI capture card. However, again, he isn't. Now, one thing I want to point out before we really get into this, okay, is that I know for a fact his clip, despite playing at 180 FPS, up to upwards of 200, his clip is playing back at 60 FPS. I know this because if you look here, okay, the clip starts at 11:13 and ends at 20:24. That means that this clip is about 9 seconds long. Okay, if this clip was being played at 180 FPS, it would be 3 seconds long. Okay. However, since it's not, that means that the clip has a playback speed and his OBS has a playback speed of 60 FPS. Okay, that's just basic math. It's just how these things work, right? Now, I'm going to go through. This is going to be a very long video, much longer, about twice the length, as I said earlier, of the original video I did, where I just played I played all of this. Okay, we'll get to this. Don't worry. In fact, actually, we're gonna get to this. I was just gonna put this as like a separate video or whatever, but this is a professional Call of Duty Warzone player. Okay, and I did the exact same thing as this isn't the full clip that I downloaded, but it's quite a bit of it. I did the exact same thing as what I did with Riley CS underscore. Okay, so we're just gonna play this and we're
Couple of
gonna
the
look at it.
shots, not all.
Okay. So this is the first clip, okay? And then I slow it down, okay? And I want you, again, I did the exact same thing to this as I did for Riley CS. I want you to pay attention to the hand, okay? His hand immediately begins to move very, very shortly after, less than, that was about 2 frames, okay? And his hand picks up the mouse. Okay, here his hand picks up the mouse and moves it over, so that way he has room because he uses his wrist primarily. Okay, and then once again, he lifts it up again to move it over. I paused right here to show you this is the moment that he moves his hand. Watch the game cam, okay? The game cam moves almost immediately, yet again, does it again, okay? So every single time he moves his hand, the camera precedes it. The camera follows after it, okay? Which is exactly what you would expect to see, okay? You would not expect to see the game camera move, then the hand move. Because that's just not how this works, okay? So then I once again slow it down. Again, pay attention to the hand, right? And we see the camera itself isn't actually moving. Okay. Not at all. And you'll see right here, the camera does move. I didn't point this out, but you can see the hand moving with it, not after it. And then right here, he begins to do this wide swing, and you can see this player, professional players of FPS games don't always play on super high sensitivity. Okay, some do, some don't. It's all a matter of preference. Okay, but right here you can see this. He's about to do this wide swing. Okay, and moments. Okay, we just go back, and again, this is also being. This playback is also at 60 FPS. Okay, the camera begins to swing, and immediately, less than a frame later, you see his hand do this wide swing, pick up and pull the mouse over so he has room yet again. And then after he does that, when the mouse moves, right here, the game camera also moves. Okay. Here's another one. Okay. You see quite a bit of hand movement and camera movement. Okay, yet again, pay attention to this. Pay attention to his hand. His hand moves and then the game camera moves. Wow. Okay, right here, he does a big swing and the camera follows. His hand is constantly moving, as is the game camera, which is exactly what you would expect. He picks up, prepares to do another swing, which he does right here. Okay. Yet again, he does another swing of the mouse, and the game follows suit. Okay. Okay. Now we continue. Okay, you see a lot of hand movements here. A lot of hand movements. And we slow it down. Again, pay attention to the hand and the camera movements. His hand begins to move, move to the side and up, which is exactly what we see in the game camera. His game moves side and up at the same time. Okay, and here comes a big swing. You can see the hand move. Okay, and you will see yet again, this is what a delay looks like. And this is a high quality webcam. So we expect to see very minimal delay, which is exactly what we see. Okay. Yet again, picks his mouse up, begins to turn. The game, again, just like with all the other clips, the game follows suit. Okay. Every little micro movement of his hand, the game also moves. Okay. Yet again, there's another large movement with the hand. And as you can see, this is what delay actually looks like. Okay. That is what it actually looks like. Now, if we come back over to here, we expect to see something similar, right? Obviously, this guy has, or girl, chick, whatever, don't fucking care, right? What I care about is, are they a cheater? Okay, because in video games, your fucking pronouns, your gender, who you are does not matter. What matters is, are you cheating? And that's what we're looking at. So we should expect to see something similar. Okay, we expect to see a obviously with lower quality, but we expect to see a a replica of the delay that we're about to see in this very first part. Okay, so this I have slowed down to 1 FPS. Okay, 1 frame per second. Now we're going to come forward, and this right here, if I can actually get this to stop. So at 15 milliseconds, okay, that is when the frame starts. Okay, so this is where he begins to turn. So that's 1, 2, 3. Okay, 3 frames, and then his hand begins to move. Okay, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 frames. So 3 frames. That is our standard. That is what we should see as a delay for all of the remainder of this clip going forward. Let's see. Okay, so his camera still moving. Okay, his camera stops moving. His game cam stops moving here. That means we expect to see 3 frames before his hand begins to move. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Uh-oh. And 2 frames after that, it stops. So his hand moves for 3 frames, but does not begin to move for 4 frames, which is 1 frame more than at the very beginning of the clip. Let's continue. His camera is moving yet again. His camera stops moving here, so 1, 2, 2 frames this time. Okay, his camera begins to move again. Oh, that's not good. His camera, let me pull up Epic Pen real quick. Hang on. So his camera moves this way and then begins to move this way, but his hand does not move, right? And begins to move this way, and now his hand does a little adjustment. Okay. While his camera does this motion and then a complete 180. And his hand moves. His hand moves in one direction a very small amount, while his camera moves in 2 different directions, and one of those is a complete 180. Okay. So that on its own just means it doesn't add up. And then his hand moves here. So 1, 2, 3. Well, hang on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This time it moves 5, which is not 2, 3, or 4. I know. Wow, right? And in this time, right, that his hand moves, his camera has now moved this way again. Okay. So his hand, in the time it does this and then this, his camera has done this, this, this. Okay, his camera has moved 3 times, and the time his hand has moved twice, if we're being generous. Okay. So we continue forward. Okay, and I'm playing this very slowly so we can see every time his gun moves versus when his hand moves. So we can see here, the gun begins to move again, this time this way. Not very far though, right? Does his hand move? No, it does not. Then his camera does a big sweeping move this way. Okay. How long does it take for his hand to move after the gun stops? So we'll say it stops moving here, or well, let's look at it, right? When does the gun actually stop moving? Okay, so this is the last frame it moves. So 1, 2. 2 frames and his hand begins to move. 3, and his hand moves all of 8. Okay. So his hand barely moves, which is still, even if we assume that his delay is somehow randomized between 2 and 5 seconds, the amount that his hand is moving does not line up with every other time his hand moves. Okay. Oh, look, his gun begins to move again. Okay. So this is the last frame. It moves. When does his hand start moving? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, well, let's assume this little micro adjust is it, right? So that is how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 for a little tiny micro adjust. Barely moves. Okay. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Okay. His cursor, his lock on is fucking impeccable for not moving his hand, by the way. Okay, and now he's being shot at, so he begins to turn yet again. And let's see, the gun stops moving here. Let's see how long it takes. 1, 2, 3. 3 frames, and his hand moves in yet again the opposite direction, a very tiny amount, while his camera goes this distance. Okay. Now, I want you to keep that in mind because, okay, hand did a very minor adjustment for this length. Okay. If we go back, right, to when he first moves this same distance, okay, he's going to move from here to here, okay, same distance, okay. How far does his hand move? His hand moves about that far, which, regardless of the sensitivity you're playing on, means that this future events, his hand movements simply do not line up. Okay. Delay in sensitivity does not account for that. And now we see here the gun adjusts. Does his hand move at all? No. No, it doesn't. So his camera moves, but his hand stays perfectly still this entire time. The entire time. Now, right here, okay, when does the camera stop moving? About right here. But oh, look, his hand has already started to move. And it does this big long sweep. Oh, and then it also does a correction. But that's not what we see in the game footage. We see a big sweep this way with no correction. In fact, the camera doesn't sweep back for quite a few frames, right? His hand stops moving here and begins to move in the other direction. 1, 2, 2 frames. And then the camera begins to move. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 frames. So the camera moves for twice as long as his hand moves. Interesting. And then we have another micro adjust right there where the game cam does not move. We have this giant movement right here where the camera just doesn't move at all. Oh, and then he does some more mouse movement where the camera just doesn't move at all. Okay, and then the camera does this sweep. Does his hand follow? No, because it does, his hand does this number. That's not something you can account for with a delay or sensitivity. Okay. Oh, and look at all these micro adjustments he's making where the camera just doesn't follow. And then right, where does, so the game camera stops moving here. 1, 2, 3, 3 frames. Interesting. And goes for 2 frames. and then another micro adjust, and then some more micro adjust, and then another micro adjust, and then another micro adjust, all without the camera moving at all. And if he's playing on a high sensitivity, those micro adjustments are going to cause it to move. And it doesn't. Oh, look, it does another move, but his hand does not, except for this like little tiny movement, which would not be accounted for. His hand does another micro adjust. By the way, you can see a grenade being thrown at him, right? His hand, another micro adjust, but the game camera does not. The game camera also does quite a big movement here, all things considered, but his hand does not move. Let's see, when does this stop? Right here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 frames now. Okay. And then a whole bunch of micro adjusting there, but no movement of the cam. And this time the game camera moves, and then 1 frame later he moves. Okay, and then it does some more, and then he's doing a lot more micro adjustments. Okay, so he does a lot of micro adjustments where the game camera simply does not move. Okay, now before I end this video, let us take one last look at this clip.
Into like a 2TS. I'm behind everybody. Holy shit.
Right there. It goes from here and then snaps. Okay. I'm going to zoom in on this timeline. Playing at full speed, it is 1, 2, 3, 4. Hang on. When does it start moving back? 1, 2. Zoom in some more. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 frames. Playing at full speed, and he locks targets on this guy in 8 frames. This means that in real time, where this person is sitting, it took him half of a second to do a 180 in target lock. Okay. For context, okay, so for context, okay, as a real life example, okay, the human head turns at about 90 degrees in roughly 200 to 300 milliseconds. Okay, so like this. That's roughly 200 to 300 milliseconds. Okay, to do a complete 180, that is between 400 and 600 milliseconds. Okay, now obviously you're not turning your head here, you're keeping your head straight, right? However, this is just for context. Elite athletes, martial artists, and dancers, when quickly turning to face an opponent, some can do a 180-degree spin in 300 milliseconds with an angular spin of around 600 degrees per second. Okay. Which means they do a complete 360 in about a second. Okay. For human visual recognition time, or reaction time, okay, that is roughly between 150 to 250 milliseconds for the human body, the human mind and eye to be able to react to something. Okay. For elite gamers, we're talking pro level gamers, okay, they have a target lock speed of between 100 to 200 milliseconds. When you combine this with having to do a 180-degree turn, a professional player, that's someone who plays these games for a living, okay, they have a 180-degree turn in target lock of between 150 and 300 milliseconds, okay? So, anything below 100 milliseconds in this regard is near impossible, okay, for this level of accuracy, okay? So, with his gameplay running at 100 FPS, okay, doing this in 8 frames is 44 milliseconds. That is faster than any professional FPS player. Let me repeat that. Not a single professional FPS player can do a complete 180 into a target lock in 8 frames. None. That, by definition, means this person is cheating. And if we just play this in real time,
Behind everybody. Holy shit.
he whips around and instantly locks on. This is not a flick. This is a snap. Riley CS_ is a cheater.